Oy vesoru ala tzadik, oy shrelev simcho. Al das hamokoim, ועל דס הקהל, בישיבו של מיילו, וישיבו של מטו, אנו מתירים להתפלל עם הרעיונים. Kol Nidre Vesorei Ahai Ushuei Vacharomei Ahai Ahai Vekoinomei Vekinosei Vechinoyei Dinedano Yai Udishtabano Ahai Udacharimeno Ahai Ahai Udosarno Al Nafshosono Miyom Kippurim Ani Yom Kippurim Ahai 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 Haboneinu Letoivo B'choin Yai Icharat Novoin Ahai 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 Kloin Yehoin Shalom Shvisin B'telin Umvutolin Ahai 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 Lo Sheririn V'lo Kayomin Nidrono Lo Nidre Vesorono Lo Esorei Ahai Ahai Ushvasana Lo Shavuos V'niselach L'chol Adams B'nei Yisrael ולגר הגור בסויכו כי לכל העם בשגגו ונסלח לכל הדס בני ישראל ולגר הגור בסויכו כי לכל העם בשגגו ונסלח לכל הדס בני ישראל הגר הגול בסויכו כי לכל העם בשגגו סלחנו לעווינו מה זה לעווינו מה זה כגודל חסדך סלחנו לעווינו מה זה לעווינו מה זה כגודל חסדך וכאשר נוססו לא מה זה ממצרים בידינו ושובם נאמר ויאמר השם סלחתי כלבונך ויאמר השם סלחתי כלבונך ויאמר השם סלחתי כלבונך.
One of the more interesting parts of the tefillot, of the prayers and our liturgy on Yom Kippur, and a part that we say repeatedly over and over again at night and in the day, and actually have been saying it over the 10 days of repentance, are a section of prayers that we say at the end of slichot, at the end of our supplications, asking God to forgive us. We take a trip through Jewish history and we say to God, just like God, you forgave and you answered many of our characters in the Tanakh, in the Bible, throughout Jewish history, so too God on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, hear us, remember us, and answer us as we beg for your forgiveness, usually in shul, this year together with our immediate family at home. And I want to focus on one of those lines that seems a little out of place. We ask God to remember Abraham and to remember Moses and Jonah, who we'll read about in the Haftorah tomorrow afternoon. But we also ask God to remember Isaac, the second of our three forefathers. And we say, God, you who remembered Isaac when he was bound down on the altar by his father Abraham, by Abraham Avinu, so too, God, you should remember us. And the question is, Isaac didn't call out to God at that particular moment or that particular story. In fact, Isaac was completely passive. Throughout that story of the binding of Isaac, where Abraham was told to bring Isaac up, to offer him as a sacrifice, and he stopped at the end of that story, where God explains to him that that was never the intention from the beginning. And the question is, why do we make mention of Isaac calling out to God in this particular story? He barely does anything or says anything. He's dragged up the mountain by his father, and apart from a small dialogue with his father, he's completely passive. Why is there any mention of Isaac in this story, in this particular prayer that we say over and over again on Yom Kippur? And I think to answer that question, we need to remind ourselves of what we've been through over the last year and a half, but especially over the last 3 months, where we, of course, have obeyed the rules, have listened to the rules, have listened to the restrictions in order to protect ourselves and others. But we haven't been the main characters in that story. Every day we've been tuning in to different press conferences, different restrictions, being explained what to do and how to do it. And our leaders, the attention is focused on our leaders, both in our state and nationally in Australia. We in some way are Isaac. We're the passive characters who are told what to do, who of course follow the rules. But the mention of Isaac here is to explain to us that as much attention as we put on those main characters, on Abraham and Moses and Jonah, sometimes those that play a smaller role in that story are just as, if not more important, than the main protagonists. And that really is our story. Isaac's story is our story over the last few months during the entire pandemic. We don't sit around the table making the decisions. We don't explain those decisions at press conferences. But the average person is the one who listens to the rules, who goes about their everyday business, making sure they're protecting themselves and others, and plays an important, if not more important role than the main characters in the story, than the ones that we see on TV, in the newspapers and on social media. Isaac's story is our story. And as we move forward, Kol Nidre, we talk about from one Yom Kippur to the next. We also think about Isaac's response, about Isaac's life, about his calling out to God, about the way in which he went about his life. And as we look forward to the next 12 months, we need to think about our own future. Because it's the average person who will shape our future going forward. Our future for ourselves, our future for our families, for our community, our future when we return to shul physically, when we're able to do the things that we once considered completely normal. When we are able to return to those activities, how will we approach them? How will we make sure that we stay as connected? How will we make sure that we continue to give to our communities, continue to reach out to others, continue to be there for others, and continue to shape the Jewish future of our shul, of our community in Australia and in New South Wales and throughout the world? Wishing everyone a Shana Tova, a Ktiva v'Chatima Tova. May you be written and sealed for the year ahead for a happy and healthy 5782.